from racing here. There you see the crews huddled around their boats. Remember, they're at a dead stop right now. As soon as that white flag drops, they'll have to start those motors, leave the starting dock. Of course, looking, Walt, for that very favorable position. There's the flag up. They're under starter's orders. They're underway now for the old Quaker Paint International Outboard Grand Prix racing event on Lake Puddingstone, and running for the lead very quickly, as you might expect, Walt. There it is, number 11, Mike Seabold in the Bud Light Racing Team Special.
Michael takes it back out across that corner. He heads back down the front straightaway. He is really tunneling a lot of air there. Right in behind him is Don Johnson, Arcadian Motor Carriers, and there's Terry Leatherby in number 91, the Tracker Marine, and last year's champion, Chris Bush, coming up on the outside.
Incredible to think they left that starting dock, remember? The engines were completely dead, left the dock, and within 5 seconds they're up to 100 miles per hour. And how important is it to be in position for that first turn?
Well, if you can get in position, get the clear water underneath your hull, then you can run smooth, just like we see our leader right now. That is Mike Seabold, as the Bud Light team is way out in front, already in just one short lap, has really stretched out a lead on the field.
Remember, he qualified at better than 114 miles per hour. Remember, the entire field separated by just 12 seconds. The early laps now, a long way to race, Walt, 50 laps. What's the strategy right now?
Well, of course, if you're in the position of Mike Seabold, your strategy is to get as far out as front as possible. He has the smooth water now, but he's going to be running into the choppy water as all the boats continue to go around the course. And, of course, you've got last year's champion out there, Chris Bush, running for the Castleberry's STV team. And as you can see, he's coming by right now in a fully closed cockpit, much different than that of boat number 9, Chuck McKay, in the open reinforced cockpit design.
I'll tell you, great respect for these drivers when you take a look, Walt, from the cockpit and try to see what they see, and it's not much.
No, it's not, because they're looking over the edge of that reinforced cockpit. Remember, they're strapped in by a 5-point harness. They're held firmly into the cockpit of that boat.
There's air under a boat there. Again, give us a chance to talk about some of the aerodynamics of the champ boats.
And you can see it right there with your leader. That is Mike Seabold. He'll be setting over there. Look out. Oh, that's Don Johnson as he came off that turn. Arcadian Motor Carriers. He let that Burgess set sail high and wide. And then number 91, the Tracker Marine, and the fully enclosed cockpit again. That is Chris Bush.
You control the boat by trimming the engine. Walt, explain that.
Well, if you trim the engine in fact, bringing the motor down, that will lower the nose of the boat. If you trim the engine out, that actually raises the nose of the boat.
Early racing action here on Lake Puddingstone. These, the first laps of 50 of the old Quaker Paint International Outboard Grand Prix here in Southern California. There again, air under a boat.
That is Mike Seabold, and you can see why they call them tunnel boats. You can see daylight all the way down the front of this thing, and he sets it up on the corner and brings it around very, very quickly. These boats corner extremely fast, Chris.
Around the turn buoy, and Mike Seabold, number 11, continues to set the pace here in these early laps. Mike Seabold, of course, the fastest qualifier, continues to have the lead here as we wind up our first few laps here in the old Quaker Paint International Outboard Grand Prix. Back with more racing after this.
This may look like fun, but it's really a torture test, and it lasts for 1 year. The high-performance coatings used on all Mercury Marine outboards not only look good, they protect. To ensure that, these high-performance coatings from PPG Industries are endurance-tested in Florida for 1 solid year. That's 1 year of constant exposure to saltwater, humidity, and a very corrosive atmosphere. PPG and Mercury Marine, partners in performance.
Balloon floating over Lake Puddingstone here as we're going to continue with the early coverage here of our big event, the IOGP. It's Mike Seabold in the lead, as he has been from the very start of the Mercury-powered Bud Light boat. Now's a good opportunity to talk about the power source of these boats, the Mercury.
They're running a V6 122 cubic inch engine, electronically fuel injected, putting out over 300 horsepower at about 9,500 RPM.
Another Mercury going by here, powering Don Johnson. He's in second place. Now, Walt, can I go down to the Mercury store and just buy an engine like this?
No, these engines are built specifically for professional racers. However, the same technology is found in every Mercury motor throughout the United States.
As you take a look again at boat number 21, second place, Don Johnston. We talked about safety. We talked first about reinforced capsules. Now let's talk about how these drivers strap themselves in. Good shot here of Terry Leatherby. He's in boat number 91, the Tracker Marine.
And here's a very good look at the harness. This is an Indy style or automotive racing style harness. 5 points with a center release where the driver can get at it very, very easily. And that's what holds him tight into the cockpit. The steering wheel, which goes on last, it is a quick release steering wheel. And of course, that will allow the driver to remove it. Here's some extras that they have on their boat.
It's good to know you have a sense of humor when you're whipping around at almost 140 miles an hour, and Terry Leatherby certainly does. He's from Rockford, Illinois, was 9th fastest qualifier in that Tracker Marine boat at almost 106 miles an hour. He makes his final preparations here before he got out on the race course, and really, Walt, today has been running pretty well.
Yes, Terry has done very well this year. He's got a brand new Starship 1 hull running with that V6 Mercury engine on the back as his crew chief, Jim Rail, backs him in the water there.
He's got to be excited in this race especially. This is something different. Of course, last year he was the SST 140 champion in the International Outboard Grand Prix. This year he is stepping up in class to champ boats. How big a step up is that as you watch #1 last year's champion in the champ, Chris Bush, go by?
Well, of course, Terry, it is a big step for him, but being the UIM reigning world champion in SST 140, this is a natural step for him to move up into the Formula Grand Prix champ boats, because this is the level of competition that Terry knows he's skilled and able to compete at.
Mike Seabold, the Bud Light, #11, continues to lead the way. There you see Scott Gilman not on the same lap with him, though, as Mike Seabold has really been stretching it out. And there you see some of that air getting underneath. #21, Don Johnston goes by. He's been holding second place pretty much in the Arcadian Motor Carriers Tide boat. And then you take a look at the man who's controlling everything, Mike Tomlinson. He is the chief referee, looking for any problems that might happen on the race course.
And of course, Mike is complete radio communication. ICOM America provides all the communication where we are allowed to keep in touch with people all around the race course, the safety personnel, and everyone keep in close touch with our chief referee, Mike Tomlinson.
Don Johnson, #21, makes his turn around the buoy and heads back up the course again. Remember, 50 laps. Walt, you made a point as we looked at that harness again, too, that it really has made it more comfortable for the drivers as well as safer.
Of course, as they pull that 4 Gs through the turn, the safety harness allows them to drive the boat through the turn, not just hang on. In the past, when they were sitting open and loose in the cockpit, it was just hang on when you came up to every corner. Now, strapped in tight, they can afford to drive the boat harder and quicker through the turns.
Again, watching some of the actions that come around the turns. Here is #94, Steve D'Souza from Linwood, Washington, the Easy Motor Racing Team. And leader again is Mike Seabold, as he has been setting the pace all afternoon here.
Mike, in that brand new set-back transom boat of Bill Seabold's, designed by Seabold Racing, allows them to move the motor forward and backwards for different water conditions. They've got it all the way back for the smooth water conditions on today's race course, and it is just the performance of Michael is phenomenal. And the performance of this water out here is phenomenal because the soft shores of Lake Puddingstone allow the water to lay right down and keep the race course very, very smooth.
There's Mark Trotter. He's coming off the course. He's had his problems today. Looks like he may be finished as far as this afternoon goes. Let's give you a quick rundown now through 15 laps of racing. Mike Seabold in the lead, the Bud Light Racing Team. Don Johnston follows in the Arcadian Motor Carriers Tide boat. Terry Leatherby is third with Tracker Marine. Chris Bush, last year's champion, Castleberry Foods, is in fourth position. Greg Wendt, Old Quaker Paints, our race sponsor, is #5. Art Kennedy, Sharks and Sharks, is running 6th at this point. Buck Thornton, the man from Duck, Del Taco Ship's Watch boat, is in 7th position. Steve D'Souza is #8 at this point in 15 laps. That's the Easy Loader Racing Team. Gilman Racing, Scott Gilman, #77, is 9th. And rounding out our top 10, it's Chuck McKay, #9 in the RDGM Incorporated McKay Racing boat. We'll be back to Lake Puddingstone, just outside of the Los Angeles, California area, bringing you more racing right after this. On Lake Puddingstone, you know these drivers are always looking for that winning edge. Here's our Mercury Performance Update now.
Okay, in a two-cycle engine, such as you use in outboards, you have reeds that sit on the lower end of the engine, between the carburetor and the crankshaft. This is the carburetor where the fuel and air, or where the air is taken in to the engine. And the reeds sit right between the carburetor, inside this box right here, and that goes into the lower end of the engine. And it's very simple to take the carburetors off and to take this piece off and to put the reeds on. This is a dual-stage reed, where the responsibility of the single-stage reed is divided into two, and so there is much easier working. You have a soft reed on top of a firm reed so that you get a wide range of response throughout the RPM of the engine. It makes for easier starting, better idling, better throttle response at low end, as well as throughout the whole RPM range.
Ivan Boyson, he's been working closely with the Gilman race team. Now, Walt, I heard what he said, but I'm still a newcomer here. Tell me again, what are power reeds?
Power reeds are designed to allow the engine to perform at its maximum capability because it actually holds crankcase pressure inside these two-cycle engines. And these engines, remember, are putting out over 300 horsepower, these 122 cubic inch V6 electronically fuel-injected engines from Mercury. So these power reeds will allow the engine to have that winning edge that everyone is looking for.
And here's a great view from water level and some of the power of these champ boats as they whip around the buoy here. Again, hitting speeds almost 140 miles an hour. You see the leader there, Mike Seabold again, as he was the fastest qualifier. Continued to pace the way. Good shot of Mike there.
As Mike continues to run very, very well, you know, Mike is running a boat that was originally built for his dad. And his dad's driving his boat from last year because he gave up his own boat to a customer of Seabold Racing.
Well, the Seabolds, of course, one of the great names in powerboat racing. Mike is the third generation of that racing family, and he is really making him proud today. Look at the turn he just made around that buoy. Here he is, the master himself. This is the man that everybody talks about in the sport, Bill Seabold. He has set more than 50 world records, earned 61 world and national titles.
When you say tunnel boat racer, you've got to say Bill Seabold all in the same sentence because he is the most phenomenal driver in the world today. He can drive a boat in places and out of places that other people can't even get into.
Here you see number 8 coming up on the screen now. There is Buck Thornton, Buck from Duck, and there is a colorful character you never find on any racing circuit.
And of course, Buck has always been a leader on the race course, and now he is driving a boat that is a leader in technology. That's one of the new epoxy resin boats from David Lee. That boat is actually put together, hand laminated, then vacuum bagged to suck all the additional resin out of the mold to make a very light, very strong, very high-tech hull.
Buck with 18 U.S. and national racing titles to his credit there. Again, leading the way, number 11, that's Bud Light Racing, and that is Mike Seabold, as he has continued to pour it on throughout the afternoon here.
And of course, you can see how hard it is sometimes for the drivers to see as Mike Seabold's cutting right through the spray of number 8, Buck Thornton. That spray coming right up in their faces. You can see Thornton coming through that rough water, taking the spray right in his face as he is tucked tight and safe down in that reinforced cockpit.
Buck again flying by us here, Buck Thornton, and he's very proud of the fact that he is from, where is that, Duck?
Duck, North Carolina. That's where Buck is in the development business. He's developed a beautiful operation called Ship's Watch.
Terry Leatherby in the Hummingbird Locators Tracker Marine, slowing down off the course here now as he is coming off. I mentioned he has just stepped up from the SST 140s to the champ boats.
And there goes by Craig Witt, that beautiful bright orange old Quaker paint entry.
Craig, of course, has quite a history to him as well. Craig was, what, a world speed skiing champion?
That's right. He was one of the top world speed water skiing champions. And now, as you see that beautiful orange boat of his, as it's the green hills on the background, a beautiful Lake Puddingstone, as he continues to go around the course. Now in 4th place, about half the race gone right now.
And still, with about half the race completed, Mike Seabold, Bud Light Racing Team from St. Louis, Missouri, continues to lead the way. Number 2, Don Johnston at Lakeview Terrace, California, the Arcadian Motor Carriers Tide boat. Number 1, last year's champion, Chris Bush, St. Paul, Minnesota, Castleberry Food STV. In 4th position right now, water skiing star Craig Wendt, number 50 from Huntington Beach, California, the old Quaker paints. Number 2, Art Kennedy is running 5th. He's from St. Louis, Missouri, in Sharks and Sharks. Del Taco Ship's Watch. That's number 8, Buck Thornton, Richmond, Virginia. Number 94, Steve D'Souza, Linwood, Washington, Easy Loader Racing is running in 7th position. Number 8 now is Scott Gilman in boat 77 from Anaheim, California, the Gilman Racing Team. Running in 9th, Chuck McKay, RDGM Incorporated, McKay Racing from Orono, Minnesota. Rounding out our top 10 at this point as we near the halfway mark of this 50-lap race. Number 91, Terry Leatherby from Rockford, Illinois in the Tracker Marine. All eyes continue to be, though, on our leader, and that is Mike Seabold, number 11. That Bud Light boat is just running great.
Even though Michael has an extremely large lead over the rest of the field, he continues to run that boat as if somebody was right up in his transom. He is running very, very hard, taking wild chances on all the turns. He trims it out, stands it right up on his tail as he comes out of the turns. He seems like he's having just a real, real good time out there. And after 2 years of terrible luck for the young man from St. Louis, I know he's having a good time. He knows he's way ahead of the field, and he's driving just because it's fun to do it that way.
Well, those trailing, Mike, realize, of course, anything can happen at any moment. They've also got to think about points and money.
And of course, the money being $25,000 for the winning this Formula Grand Prix champ boat, but it pays all the way down to the last place. So to stay in there and to finish, to gain points toward that PPG 50,000 Series Points Fund, to get a part of this $25,000 Old Quaker Paint money here is very important. And of course, Mike Seabold is out there running for the lion's share. He wants the big chunk for himself.
Currently in third place in boat number 1, Chris Bush, the reigning North American IOGP champion, the Castleberry Foods boat. This is the man they're chasing, pushed along by that big Mercury engine, Mike Seabold.
Well, you know, Mike has continued to run this race as if he had somebody right up behind him. He is keeping his level of concentration very, very high. He is watching what he's doing. He's controlling the boat very well. Even though it's halfway through the race, they're beginning to get tired. Mike knows that if he loses that concentration, that's the time someone can come up on him. You can see him still looking over his shoulders, even though he has the rearview mirrors, always looking to make sure no one is moving up on him.
50 laps, 62.5 miles. Remember, these fellows are doing it at speeds well in excess of 130 miles an hour along the straightaway.
Even though these drivers are firmly strapped in these reinforced cockpits, the one weak link is the head. It sits there bobbing about as these boats take a tremendous pounding going over the water at over 130 miles an hour. They've tried everything. They've got helmet straps to tie the head down to the shoulders. They've tried isometric exercises to strengthen the neck. And there's a young man who knows what strength is all about. Art Kennedy, been around for many years.
Very popular driver from St. Louis, Missouri. And there's another St. Louis and out in front still, Mike Seabold. He has been since the very start of this race. Art Kennedy, though, quite a fella and a guy who's really been around these races for a long time.
Yeah, he started racing against Mike's dad years ago, back when both of them were about 12 years old. But Mike Seabold is the man this afternoon that seems to have everything dialed in. All the bad luck he had the last couple of years seems to be turning into good luck today, because everywhere he goes, if he goes inside the course, there's a hole open. If he goes to the outside of the course, there's a hole open. If he overtrims it, he's able to set it back down. Everything, his level of concentration, the preparation of the Bud Light Racing team, that Mercury engine, just doing everything exactly like he wants it to be.
Walt, we've been talking a lot about the Bud Light team. How important is the team concept in this sport?
Well, it's absolutely important, because years ago, it used to be the driver came to the race, he set up his own boat, he worked on his own engines, and did his own driving. With today's technology, today's speeds and advancements, they have a complete team. They've got mechanics, they've got setup men, they've got guys that drive the truck. The driver is usually there just to drive the boat. Now, in Mike Seabold's case, he happens to also be the team's head mechanic. But as far as setup or building the boats, he doesn't do that. On other teams, such as Chuck McKay, he's got an engine man. He's got a setup man. He's got a guy that drives the truck. Same with Don Johnson, number 21, the Arcadian Motor Carriers. So they all have very polished teams, and that is the wave of the future in IOGP Grand Prix powerboat racing.
Good look at that bright orange boat of Don Johnston as he makes his turn. Don, a real veteran, been competing in professional boat racing since the age of 14 and doing quite a job here this afternoon.
And of course, Mike Seabold out there, he knows that Don Johnston is back there. He knows where he's at. He's kept an eye on him through the rear view mirrors attached to that reinforced cockpit, by looking over his shoulders, by always knowing where his competition is, because that's where the edge is. Knowing where they're at, how to stay inside on the course or how to stay outside, to do whatever it takes to give them that final edge, to maintain that lead on the race course. And that's what Mike Seabold's doing. But look at this. That's Scott Gilman, number 77. He's out there running without his back cowl, but I can see his number right on the front of his boat. That's going to be able to keep him legal, because you've got to be able to show those numbers. I believe Kenny Youngblood painted that boat for him, and by putting the numbers right up on the nose of that boat, he's going to be able to remain legal out of that race course, and that is quite a lucky break for young Scott Gilman.
We're 30 laps into our 50-lap feature. The Old Quaker Paint International Outboard Grand Prix continues from California right after these messages.
Quicker starting, easier running, and power when you need it simply by installing Boyson Power Reeds, the performance booster that led to 3 new world speed records. Now available for your outboard to power your fishing, recreational, or personal watercraft to new heights of performance. Personally guaranteed by Ivan Boyson. To order, call 1-800-441-1177 or ask your dealer for Boyson Power Reeds.
And IOGP counts on ICOM. ICOM provides top-quality marine radios for a variety of applications. Its reputation for dependability has made it the official communications company of the IOGP. ICOM radios provide vital communications for safety personnel, racing officials, even for drivers and their crew. When you're out on the water, don't trust your safety to anything less than ICOM, the official communications company of the IOGP.
ESPN.
to the International Outboard Grand Prix race, the first one of the year, the Old Quaker Paint in California, and with about 20 laps left to go. Our leader is still Mike Seabold. His lead almost 15 seconds. His speed averaging better than 105 miles an hour. Chris Link, along with Walt Yarbrough. Walt's fine racing action this afternoon. Just a beautiful day.
Yes, it is beautiful out here on this beautiful Lake Puddingstone. This is our first time in Southern California. And here, Scott Gilman, you see him, his dad, Bob Gilman, is our host here this weekend for the Old Quaker Paints International Outboard Grand Prix. And this is just one of 9 stops that will be all over the United States from east coast to west, from north to south. International Outboard Grand Prix racing is the very best that you can find anywhere in the world.
Outstanding racing action, and of course what a great impact the event also has for local chambers of commerce too. Just turn out a great number of people. It's a great sponsorship tool certainly for the entire industry. Not only am I impressed with the driver's skill, Walt, but also in talking to so many of them this week, their great dedication not only to the sport, but to so many things they believe in. And one of the great examples here certainly has to be this young man, Scott Gilman, with one of the charities he believes in, cystic fibrosis.
Over the years, Gilman Racing, involved in both off-road racing and now in powerboat racing, have given over $170,000 of their prize money away to cystic fibrosis. They believe in charities, and many of these drivers racing in lots of races see a lot of money going to a lot of charities.
32 laps have been completed. Here is the rundown now. Mike Seabold continues to lead as he did when the flag fell for the first time. His lead almost 15 seconds, his average speed almost 106 miles an hour. Running second, number 21, Don Johnson, the Arcadian Motor Carriers tied boat. Number 3, Chris Bush, the defending champion of Castleberry Foods STV from St. Paul, Minnesota. Running fourth from St. Louis, Missouri, Sharks and Sharks, Art Kennedy, number 2. Running in 5th position, boat number 50, the Old Quaker Paints, Craig Wendt, the driver from Huntington Beach, California. Buck Thornton in Del Taco Ship's Watch, boat number 8. He is running in 6th position. Number 7 right now is Steve D'Souza from Linwood, Washington, the Easy Loader racing team. Scott Gilman, boat 77. Number 8, Gilman Racing from Anaheim, California, is in the 8th spot. Number 9, Chuck McKay, RDGM Incorporated, McKay Racing from Orono, Minnesota. Rounding out our top 10 at this point, Bill Seabold from St. Louis, Missouri, Bud Light Racing Team. Walt, you don't expect to see Bill Seabold in 10th position.
No, you generally don't. Billy's always up there hunting for the front of the pack. Something seems to be wrong this afternoon, but very seldom do you ever find anything wrong with Bill Seabold's rig. So I know it must be a serious problem, but Bill continues to stay out on the race course, trying to rack up those points. He was last year's world champion. He would like to go this year for the North American champion, but it's going to take every point he can get.
Great tight shot there of boat number 11, Bud Light Racing, Mike Seabold, the big black Mercury engine pushing it from behind there.
And there goes number 8. That's the Del Taco entry of Buck Thornton as he goes around number 91, Terry Leatherby, as they're both setting up and coming back down the backstretch. The dam of the lake in the background, and Buck Thornton has really got it set up on its heels as they come down into turn number 3. And coming on down to this turn, look out, Chris Bush. He went way past the turn, and he barrel rolled it way on the outside. He had it just set right on its heels and went way past that turn.
Chris Bush was running 3rd at that point in the race. As you see very quickly, the red flag has gone up. The race has been stopped. A flare was shot up very quickly here, and now the rescue team moves into action.
Only about 13 seconds response time, and that's the Mercury-powered Achilles rescue boats moving in to make sure Chris Bush has released from the capsule. You can see the rescue people right in the water with him. They're getting him away from that boat. We can see the top of that cockpit has been blown away by the water. Chris Bush seems to be okay. They'll take him over, put him in the Achilles, and look at that in the replay. He just barrel rolls at the outside. The boat just destroys itself. But the reinforced cockpit stays intact, and they were able to get Chris Bush out as the Chattanooga Stars responded over there very quickly.
The boat has been destroyed. The driver is fine. What must that be like? Well, Greg Foster, an elimination heat of SST 140, experienced it and told us about it.
I was a little disoriented at the time because I was trying to get my helmet. I couldn't breathe. I was, kind of choking on the water, and I couldn't breathe, so I was trying to undo my helmet, and then I finally had to settle down, and I finally figured that I was in a capsule and unhooked myself and finally released. But I was just trying to figure out where you were and get oriented, to be able to release yourself. It was a weird feeling, but it was good to know that I was strapped in a capsule, knowing that I was safe and I was still alive, and that I had the chance to get out.
Now you know why the American Power Boat Association, the governing body the IOGP races under, makes the reinforced capsules mandatory this year.
As you can see, that boat built and designed by Rourke Summerford for Chris Busch in the Castleberry's STV racing, the boat destroyed itself. However, the reinforced cockpit that Chris Busch was strapped into is all in solid one piece, as is Chris Busch, all in solid one piece.
Been a tough way to start, though, of one of the great powerboat racing teams, the Castleberry team. Walt, they lost one of their SST 140 boats the other day.
And that's a brand new sponsorship this year for Castleberry Foods, the Miller Brothers out of Niceville, Florida. So with that blowover yesterday and this blowover today, it has not been a good weekend, except for the one bright spot. Rusty Campbell, last year's UIM World Champion, kept up his winning ways by winning the Mod VP Classic.
So Castleberry #1 is on the trailer, through for the day. You're looking right there at about $30,000 worth of boat and equipment that is finished racing, but as you said, Chris Busch is in good shape. When we come back, we'll have a restart for you. Just 13 laps to race in the old Quaker Paint Commercial Outboard Grand Prix when we return. As we've had the wreck by Chris Busch, we're getting ready for a restart with 13 laps of racing left to go. And in comes number 77, Scott Gilman, looking for some help.
He's going to go in and see if he can get another back cowl put on that boat, but because the fact that you can still see number 77 right up there on the nose of the boat, that is a legal APBA number. It is 12 inches by 12 inches by 1.5 inch wide high numbers. It is a legal number, so it can be scored.
Well, Scott Gilman was wondering what happened to Mike Cowling. He doesn't know. Maybe the crew can help him out here.
It's a buck.
He came, you were going in, he used you for a turn.
Are you going back or not?
Yeah, he's going back to the
Don cut you off.
Let's go.
Walt, what is involved now with the restart?
Well, what they'll do is they'll line the boats back up on the starting pontoon again in the order that they completed 37 laps. With 13 remaining laps, they'll start the race back up. They'll run the 13 remaining laps. But the biggest disadvantage here is Mike Seabold had almost a 2-lap lead over the rest of the field. Or I think the last two boats were only about 3/4 of a lap behind him. Now they're right up behind him. They're right next to him. He's got to restart this race. Will the engine refire? Will he be able to jump out to the big lead he's had all day long? That's the question going through our leader, Mike Seabold's mind. Can I get that lead again?
Scott Gilman heads to the start dock. Here's how they'll line up. Mike Seabold, number 11. Don Johnson in the Arcadia Motors Carriers 21. Art Kennedy, Sharks and Sharks, number 2. The old Quaker Paint, number 50. Craig Wendt will line up in the 4th spot for this restart. And taking a look at the rest of the order here, Buck Thornton, number 8, Del Taco Ship's Watch, Steve D'Souza, the Easy Loader, number 94, Scott Gilman, number 77, Gilman Racing, and Chuck McKay in the RDGM McKay Racing, number 9. He'll be in the 8th starting position for this restart. Rounding out the field, Terry Leatherby, number 91, Tracker Marine, and then Bill Seabold, who will start in the 10th position in the other Bud Light boat, number 7, as they're getting ready for the restart.
And they're waiting for the 22nd time, waiting for the flag to come up. The flag is up. They're under starter's orders. They're all watching the flag, and here they come as they roar away from the starting dock. It's the restart of 13 laps, and it's Mike Seabold. He gets out there in front. It was so reassuring to see that engine start as he puts the Bud Light Racer right out on the front, but it looks like Buck Thornton is coming up right there beside him as they set him down on turn number 2. On the inside, it's Mike Seabold. On the outside, it's Buck Thornton. And it's Seabold on the inside, Thornton on the outside as they cut around and come back down the corner. And on the inside, it's Mike Seabold out in front as Buck Thornton continues to press, trying to move back out in front of young Michael Seabold.
So forget about 37 laps of racing. It's 13 laps to the finish now for the $25,000 in prize money. And the man who's leading it still is Mike Seabold, our fastest qualifier. Mike had to do it all again, and Walt, he got off to a great start on the restart.
And it's very good that he did, because Buck Thornton changed a prop while he was sitting there for the restart, and he has found some acceleration he has not had all day. And remember, Mike Seabold had about a 3/4 of a lap lead on him, and now he's having to fight and try to get that distance back again.
Now, in the time of the restart, you can do a little bit of work in terms of maybe changing a prop, add a cowling or something, but no more fuel is added, right?
That's right. There's no fueling at the pit dock. They can only add the fuel they've got to run the whole race with when they start the race. They can make a few mechanical changes, but nothing major. Terry Leatherby, number 91, the Hummingbird Locators Tracker Marine boat, out there running with some difficulty. He tried to make some changes during the pit stop. But number 11, Mike Seabold, he didn't have to make any changes because what he's doing is just fantastic. He has moved back out of the lead, and he has really got it running flat out and hot.
Consistency, that's so important in this event. And And, of course, concentration. We touched on that earlier. He knows he can't let up, well, not in these final few laps.
And his competition is not letting up because we can see Buck Thornton coming right up with Don Johnston right in behind him. Thornton goes wide to the outside and Johnston stays tight to the inside. It's going to be a race right to the wire for second and third between those two.
We'll be charting that one for you, but again, the leader is Mike Seabold as he comes whipping around the turn again. And he has been the man, and his boat has been set up beautifully by that Bud Light team, powered by the big Mercury engine as it goes flashing through the frame now. Well, what is it like to be in one of these Champ boats? To give you kind of an experience of that, we have a special view for you here from the Sony Video 8 Handycam, and this gives you some kind of feeling of what it's like.
Now you feel like you're Mike Seabold right behind the wheel. You're heading down across the water over 100 miles an hour. Now you see the turn buoy coming up. What do? You trim it down, you hang on. There we go through the turn. A special view from the Video 8 Handycam from Sony.
Imagine going through that at almost 130 miles an hour at some points of this, and whipping around this turn in very quick order. Mike Seabold, the man who's done it best all day, continues to set the pace here as they're coming down to the final few laps.
He's getting very tired now because even with the restart, the heat of sitting in the boat, a beautiful sunny afternoon, he's got to get that level of concentration just up as high as he can. He's got to say, Mike, hang on, hang in there, do what you do the best. And that's what he's doing this afternoon.
Meanwhile, close behind, Buck Thornton is still chasing him in the number 8 boat. That is the Del Taco Ship's Watch. And right behind him, also putting some pressure on, is Don Johnston. And he is going to, of course, try to make his way up the line. We've talked before about the importance of money and points.
And, of course, that's what Mike Seabold's after. He's after a lion's share of the money and a lion's share of the points. But his competition continues to chase him around the race course. And there's the boat running at third right now. That is Don Johnston, as Johnston's continuing to chase Buck Thornton, who got into second on the restart with only 13 laps remaining. So Buck Thornton is still staying in second, and Don Johnston in third.
The bright orange boat, the Arcadian Motor Carriers, tied. Don Johnston of Lakeview Terrace, California. There's a good shot of him. He is pushing, waiting for a break from Mike Seabold. See if he might possibly be able to get to that line first. That's the battle at the front. At the back, though, number 77, Scott Gilman. Still suffering from not having that racing cowl on the back of his boat. IOGP fans of all ages, all this young lady needs is a Mercury engine. The checkered flag is out, and Mike Seabold, the year of frustration a year ago, is now behind him. He is the winner of the first event of this season, the old Quaker Paint International Outboard Grand Prix.
I tell you what, you can probably see the smile on Mike's face shining through that face mask. There is one happy young man, and I guarantee you that entire Bud Light team is just ecstatic for Michael because they've all worked so hard to make sure he had a good year. Michael taking that well-earned victory lap of honor with that checkered flag. It's going to be real hard to get that checkered flag back from him. He's going to take that one home with him, I can guarantee you that, because it's been a long time coming, a lot of hard work. But he comes from a good team, and things are just going well for him right now.
And he can take a lot of credit to it because he is the main man who works on that Mercury engine. But you can believe Mike is going to give a lot of credit to every member of that Bud Light racing team as we take a look at the final standings, the first event of the year for the International Outboard Grand Prix. Here's our top 4. Mike Seabold also earns 400 American Powerboat Association points. Don Johnston with 300 points. Steve D'Souza gets 225. And Art Kennedy's 4th place finish is worth 169 points. Craig Wint finishing 5th, 127 APBA points. Buck Thornton finishing in 6th, gets 95 points. Then it's Scott Gilman in 7th position. Chuck McKay finishes in 8th spot in his first event of the year. Bill Seabold, running in the other Bud Light boat, finishes 9th. Terry Leatherby, 10th. Did not finish the race. Chris Bush in that accident in the 37th lap. And it was Jim Johnson. He went out on the 6th lap with some problems. Mark Trotter, a very short day for him. He just got 2 laps completed before his day of racing finished. And as we join Mike Seabold heading back to the beach here, you can bet there are a lot of happy team members here waiting to greet him as he's getting ready to snap that helmet off, finally get up and stretch after 50 laps of racing. Get the Bud Light cap on and get ready to celebrate. It's almost party time here as we listen to Mike Seabold.
Thanks, John. I needed that one, that's for sure. Oh, it felt good. After last year, breaking down so many times. No, it was nice. Yeah, I thought it was great. The boat was handling absolutely perfect. Everything just went smooth.
You got to celebrate with a Bud Light, and nobody could be happier for Mike Seabold than his father, the legend himself, Bill Seabold.
Mike's needed this for a year and a half. He's had a dry spell, and he really deserved this. He drove a good race. He drove a perfect race. You know, and on that restart with only 12 laps to go and then go out and put 3/4 of a lap on the second place boat, I think that's, you know, he just drove a hell of a race.
Doesn't sound too proud, does he? Bill Seabold congratulating his son, Mike Seabold, of our first IOGP race of the year.